Dear students, in this video, I discuss what is the meaning of pseudocode and what are the keywords used to write pseudocode and what are the advantages of it. So it's very simple. Pseudocode, as the name itself indicates, it's a fake code. Okay, it's not the real code, real program, so that you cannot compile and execute pseudocode. That is a very simple thing. Most of the students will be under the confusion that what is the difference between an algorithm and a pseudocode. So I can say pseudocode is the advanced version of algorithm. So algorithm is like a plain English like statements. So normally in industries, what will happen? Any problem for that matter, so directly they don't go for writing the code. So first they write the algorithm in the plain English-like statements. So after that, that English-like statements will be converted into pseudocode. So pseudocode means, so normally we don't declare any variables and all in the case of pseudocode. So as I told, pseudocode is nothing but it's a fake code and it cannot be compiled or it cannot be executed or it cannot be interpreted and it is easy to understand. Okay, so even a common man or a client, a layman who doesn't have programming knowledge or who has very little programming knowledge also can understand the pseudocode. So what are the keywords we use normally while writing the pseudocode? So for example, to accept, okay, so some input from the user, we can use even we can use even input also, read, uptime, get, and to output we can write like output or print, display, show. Normally print is most popular. Okay, so and in the case of input, read or input is more popular. Okay, and compute, so compute, calculate, determine, process. So normally we use compute and process. Initialize, to initialize a particular variable. Okay, so set or init. So set is more popular, and I'm telling popular in the sense there are, these are all standard by practice. Okay, there is no rule. Okay, so there is no rule. So add one, so in loops and all normally we increment the counter. Okay, so we use increment or inc, and similarly for decrementing we use decrement or dec. And assigning, so assigning some value, so just we use the keyword assign. Okay, so when it comes to sequential execution means there is no if else condition or there is no loop. How to write the sequence? So here it is very simple. You have to be very careful with the indentation. The indentation is very important while writing the pseudocode, so that it increases the readability of the program. Means readability of the pseudocode. If some other person reads your pseudocode, he should be in a position to understand clearly. So example, okay, so pseudocode for adding two numbers we will see. So here, so I take one variable that is a. Here don't go for declaration of the variables int a comma b and all. Then absolutely no difference between pseudocode and the program. Just take directly the variable. Okay, a assign one integer number and b assign another integer number. Okay, and perform. Okay, you can use even calculate or process, or you can just use c. Okay, so arrow a plus b. Here normally we use the arrow instead of equal to and all. So and print c. See here the indentation is very important. All should start in the same, okay, so column. That is very important. So print c. So as I already told, do not include data declarations when it comes to pseudocode. So it is very simple. Next, so how to write pseudocode when the case of if-else condition. So here just you have to be very careful with the indentation. If condition, here what is the condition? So then we use the keyword then, then, then. If condition, then set of statements. So I write it as sequence 1. Then else, see else should start. The indentation you should be very careful. If and else, see the position actually. So then sequence 2 and end if. Okay, so end if. So we completed the if. So just we see how to find out how to write a pseudocode to find out a larger of two numbers. So num1 assign one integer number, num2 assign another integer number. If num1 greater than num2, then compare this with this. You can consider this as the syntax. Okay. Now compare here. If matching condition num1 greater than num2 is the condition. Then matching. So then print num1 is okay. So num1 as larger and else. So print num2 as the larger. End if. So very simple. Okay. So next we will go to how to write pseudocode in the case of while. It is very simple. While condition, sequence of statements, and end while. Okay, here better if you give space between end and while. I have not given the space. Better if you give the space between end and while here. Okay. See this program. Okay. So I am initializing the counter. Okay. So init a equal to 1. Normally we go for the counter I, but I looks like almost 1. So you should not be in confusion. That's why I have taken the counter a. And set even to 0. So I am initializing even to 0. You can use initialization only and set odd to 0. So while a less than or equal to 10. So from 1 to 10 I want to find out even numbers and the odd numbers. So while a less than or equal to 10, I want to repeat these set of statements. Okay. So what is that? Uh, how to find out whether the number is even or not? So when you divide it by 2, if you get remainder as 0, then you can come to the conclusion the number is even. So if a mod 2 is equal to 0, this is the condition. Mod 2 is equal to 0 is the condition. Then add 1 to even. Else we have to add 1 to odd number. So this keep on it will be repeated. Okay, keep on it will be repeated. And here, okay, so we need to increment a by 1. Okay, that you can write specifically after ndf. Here if you want you can add one line also here, that is add 1 to a, or it is understood also sometimes. Better after ndf if you add 1 to a. Okay, so like how we have done here, add 1 to even or add 1 to odd. So in the similar way, after ndf if you write add 1 to a, then it will be better. So how to write the pseudocode? So that is switch expression, that is case expression. So condition 1, condition 2, no need to use break and all. Okay. So like this, how many conditions? N conditions can come, and then end default. So sequence, okay, and end case. Here better if you give space between end and case. Okay, so this is very simple. Okay, and when it comes to repeat until, there is do while. Okay, so it's like very similar to in the case of while we check the condition at the beginning. In the case of do while, we check the condition at the end. So repeat set of statements until condition. Okay, so until condition. So this is the example for do while. And for loop. So for iteration bounds, so normally we give here, so how to, what is the condition? So for iteration. So for iteration bounds and set of statements here and end for. Okay. And here we see set I to 0. Don't confuse this as 1, actually it is I. Set I to 0, set E1 to 0, and for I less than or equal to 100. So already we have initialized here. Otherwise you can initialize here also for I to 0 and comma I less than or equal to 100. And you can even give add 1 to I at the end. So if I modulus 2 is equal to 0, then we set increment even. Okay, so end if we are just finding total number of even numbers in between 0 to 100, and end for, we are ending the for loop here. So it's very simple. Okay, so for I less than or equal to 100. So we have set 0. So 0 to 100, we are finding out how many even numbers, that is count of even numbers. So I display that even, that is the count of even numbers we are displaying. Even you can use print. And pseudocode for invoking functions. So it is very simple, just we use the word call. So add with two numbers. So add is the function name here. Okay, add, call add. So add is the function name with what? With two numbers a comma b. A comma b. So another way, call swap. So swap is the function name with the numbers num1 comma num2. So arguments. So a and b are arguments here. Num1 and num2 are the arguments in the case of swap. So the function name is add is the function name. Here swap is the function name. And exception handling. So exception handling, it is very simple. Begin and end. Indentation, you have to be very careful. And here set of statements before handling a particular exception. Here exception, what is the exception? So here exception type, there may be so many exception types. That is, one is you need to handle divide by 0, or you need to handle accessing a file which does not exist. Okay, so when exception type, so this is the exception type, here should come, and statements to handle the exception. Again, any number of exceptions. When another exception type, statements to handle the exception. So like this, it is very simple. Okay, so thank you.